everybody. This is Rob Swanson, and welcome to the Snake Eyes edition of the Real Freedom Show. This is episode 0000 Snake Eyes. This is the Real Freedom Show, and my name is Rob Swanson. And I'll tell you what, we have a pretty exciting show coming up. Now, this first episode is going to be a little bit shorter than normal, and it's really designed right here to get you in the mood for what's coming, to figure out if this whole thing is right for you, if you want to follow along on this journey, on this conversation, on the topics that we're going to be discussing here on the Real Freedom Show. Now, as you heard in the opening little snippet, this is the show about money, business, and life. And we're going to break a lot of those things down. We're going to talk about things that are happening in my business, in my life, in a variety of different places, and look at it from the context of developing and creating real freedom. Most people, and I assume the fact that you're listening to this show, the fact that you are probably somehow connected into my audience, the idea of freedom is something that drives you, it motivates you, it gets you up in the morning, and most people that I talk to, whether they feel like they have freedom or they feel like they don't have freedom, desire freedom. Now, freedom comes in a variety of different flavors. And in episode number 1, we're going to talk a little bit more about that. But the flavors of freedom are really baked in who you are, where you want to go in life, what are you doing today, what do you believe is possible, what's your mindset, and how is it set up to move you forward. And so in this first show, in the Snake Eyes episode of the Real Freedom Show, I don't want us to dive super deep into this, but I want to give you some context. I want to get your mind thinking in a direction that says, what is freedom for me? What do I define as real freedom? What do you define as real freedom? And the idea and the reason I want you to define real freedom for you is because that establishes a goal. And one of the things that we'll talk about in the first episode coming up is this idea of a rich versus a poor mindset. And to give a little bit of the punchline away, one of the big deals that the rich do that the poor do not do is that they are goal-oriented and goal-driven. And so one of those components of being goal-oriented is being able to define what do you want out of life and where are you headed and what are those things that drive you. And so as we start to look at this path and this journey towards real freedom, what do you have to be doing in your life today in order to start setting yourself up for real freedom? And, you know, again, this takes on a lot of different components. For some people, it's more time. For some people, it's more money. For some people, it's achieving a certain position in their community. For some people, it's, you know, you can slice it in so many different ways. But if you start to categorize it and break real freedom up across money, business, and life, you can start to get a picture of what it means for you. And you can think about it. Now, what I do on a regular basis is I think about what does real freedom mean for me. And, you know, I have a family. I've been married for over 23 years. I've got 3 awesome kids. And for real freedom to me means family. And what money does for me is allows me to invest and do things with family. What my business does for me is it gives me the flexibility and free time to invest and do things with my family. What money, business, and life, what life does is then those investments and those deposits that I make in family actually produce fruit, and they produce results, and they produce things that are good. I like things that are good as opposed to things that are not good. And I would imagine that you're much the same way. And so when I start to think about these things, this word and this idea of financial freedom comes into mind. And I will tell you that over the years in business, I have strived to create financial freedom in a lot of different ways in my life. And the core root first thing that I ever did was I got involved in real estate investing. And let me share that story just briefly. Some of you have heard this story before, some of you haven't. I'll give it to you so you understand that I'm a product in the real estate investing world and in the real estate investing space. Much like many of you, the journey is very similar. I found myself on a Tuesday or Wednesday night at 7 p.m. at the Marriott Hotel in downtown Denver nearly 20 years ago. I had been doing some things towards real estate investing prior to that, but never really got it to take off. And I simply lacked the knowledge and the executionable steps, the experience of how to make it work. And so I found myself at this seminar listening and being a very conservative engineer. I wanted to make sure that it made sense. What I was listening to had to make sense. It had to be understandable. It had to be simple. It had to be something that I could wrap my head around, wrap my arms around, and say, I understand what that means to make money. I understand what that means as an investment strategy. And what I'm talking about is real estate investing. And so coming from an engineering background, I looked at this idea of real estate investing, and I was looking at stocks, and I was looking at bonds and commodities, and I was looking at other businesses, and I was looking at all sorts of different things. And the thing that connected me and made me say, I get real estate, it makes sense to me, was a couple of things. Number one, real estate investing is a physical, tangible, hard asset. And the reason that's important is because a physical, tangible, hard asset can be insured. So I have, with real estate as an investment, I have a physical, tangible, hard asset that can be insured. And that physical, tangible, hard asset that can be insured is something that everyone needs. So the audience size for real estate as an investment is everybody needs shelter. Everybody needs a place to live. So it was starting to tick these, I get it, modes. It was starting to tick these good investment criteria that I was thinking about before I knew anything about real estate investing. So it's a physical, tangible, hard asset that can be insured, and so I can prevent or minimize loss. Everybody needs it. Everybody needs housing, and it produces cash flow. It produces cash flow. And so going back nearly 20 years on my journey into real estate investing, I was starting to look at these components, and I looked at the stock market and the commodities market, and I looked at other businesses, and I looked at different things, and I thought, I'm losing control, or I don't have the control that I can have in real estate. I don't have the downside protection that I can have in real estate. And so real estate investing was that early thing that got me focused and moving towards financial freedom. Now, you're going to hear this theme across the Real Freedom Show again and again and again and again. Cash flow, cash flow, cash flow. I don't care where you are in the up, down, sideways of a real estate market, the up, down, sideways of an economy. Cash flow is king. If you can learn to make your business, money, and investment decisions around creating cash flow and getting all these little armies of dollars that go out to come back to you with their friends to take a line from Mr. Wonderful from Shark Tank, put them out, let them come back with their friends. That's cash flow. And the key is do that on a recurring and residual basis. So the Real Freedom Show takes this idea of creating cash flow using real estate, a physical asset that can be insured that everybody needs, and says, how do we do that? Because most people, when I ask them, will say, yes, I would love more cash flow in my life. I would love to get paid whether I'm working or not. And so real estate investing, real estate has been the thing for me that has done exactly that and has created that. Now, there's 8 criteria that I use to evaluate business and investment types of decisions. And we're going to be breaking these down across the shows coming up on the Real Freedom Show. And we're going to take each one individually. We're going to take them as groups. We're going to do case studies. We're going to talk about how you can create real freedom in your life and business. There's 8 criteria that I use to make investment decisions. And I want you to make one distinction as you're thinking about connecting in with me on this show. You can choose to be an active, what I think about as an active real estate investing operator, an active real estate investor, or you can choose to be a passive real estate investor. Now, the difference is an active investment operator, an active real estate investor, pours their time, energy, and effort into doing real estate deals to generate cash and cash flow on a regular and recurring basis. The passive investor puts their time, energy, and effort, and mostly their knowledge and their capital to work passively without putting daily effort in. So you have to decide as you pursue the real estate investing arena, do you want to be an active investor or do you want to be a passive investor? Now, some of that comes from where are you starting? Some of that comes from where are you headed? And some of that comes from where are you right now here today? And we'll talk about this sort of pendulum and the decisions that you can make one way to the other and why sometimes those decisions, one makes more sense than the other. Here's the 8 factors that I use to make decisions, and I have them written down in front of me because I just want to talk this through with you. The first thing that I look for in a business and in any investment is it simple to understand? Is it simple? The number one criteria for Rob, as I look at business and investment opportunities and decisions and places to put time, energy, effort, and capital, is it simple? The second thing that I look for is can I create a system around it? So number 1 is simple. Number 2 is system. Because I want to be able to build a system around it so that I can control the investment. I want to stick what I do in a box so that I can create repeatable, measurable, reproducible outcomes, results, returns. I want to put it in a box. So number 1, I'm looking for simple. Number 2, I'm looking for the ability to build a system around it. And number 3, I'm looking for the ability to scale. Because I want to do as little work as possible to get as great a return as possible, right? I want to invest as little capital as possible to get as big of return as possible. So this idea of scale is this. Scale is a significant increase in the output, in what you get out, with little to no increase in input. And so let's take these first 3 and let's just talk about them and see how they connect. If I choose a business strategy and an investment strategy that is simple, I can understand it and other people will understand it. If I can build a system around that simple business and investment strategy, I will do it and other people can do it. And then if I let it scale, if I choose something that is scalable, simple, I can build a system, then I can put little effort in and I can ratchet up my outputs and I can get significantly more out of that investment or business than what I have to put in. It's disproportional. It's not linear. I don't have to put in a certain amount and get out the same amount every time. As I find the levers and the places that I can ratchet control, I can put the same amount of little effort in and I can significantly and massively increase my output. That's scale. Now the fourth component then is margin. I want to be doing business and investments that are high margin. I want something that is high margin. Real estate investing is a high margin business. Now, what I mean by high margin is I want it to be worth my while. I want it to be worth my time, my energy, my effort. I want to have enough money to be able to hire and build a team, pay outsourced people. I want to have enough margin for every transaction, whether that transaction happens because we do manual effort to create a transaction or because it's a residual recurring transaction. I want to do the transaction that produces a high margin. The most profit per transaction is what I'm looking for. That helps me grow the business. That helps me increase my investments. That helps me lead to cash flow, and ultimately cash flow that allows me to stop doing other things, right? If the cash flow investment is large enough, if the cash flow margin is large enough, the larger the margin is, the faster you can stop doing other things and let the investment pay for your life and your lifestyle and give you additional capital to reinvest, right? So the whole idea is in the beginning to be doing things that are high margin, that are simple, that are repeatable, that are scalable in order to generate and create cash flow that comes out. So number 5 is risk. I want to have low risk. Now, the reality of this is that what my tolerance for risk is may be different than your tolerance for risk. What my understanding of risk is may be different than your understanding of risk. When you get started with real estate investing, the idea that it is a relatively risky venture is on most people's minds. The truth of the matter is, honestly, when you add to your educational knowledge and understand some simple fundamentals around real estate investing, the fact that it is perceived as a riskier investment actually whitewashes away rather quickly. The truth is, real estate is a very stable and I would consider relatively low risk investment once you understand a few basics on how to analyze any real estate deal. Listen, folks, I've taught my 19-year-old daughter how to do this stuff. And I did it on a piece of paper sitting at the kitchen table one time when she said, hey, how should I be thinking about investments? How should I be looking at real estate? And you know, these 8 criteria, simple, system, scale, margin, and risk, I'm at number 5, is the same thing that I look at whether it's any business, whether it's real estate, whether it's an outside of real estate investment. I take the same approach and the same process. So I'm looking at risk, and you know the difference between something feeling risky and something feeling not risky is your understanding of that subject matter and the topic. If you can learn it and get knowledgeable about it and build a framework from which to analyze it, perceived risk goes down. And then when you learn it and learn how to apply, the actual risk goes down. And so when we talk about risk, I want something that's low risk. And I'm going to teach you how to make real estate investing a low risk proposition. Number 6 is the headache factor. Is it a pain in the butt? Is it going to be a challenge for you on a regular recurring basis to do something about this business or this investment? If the headache factor is high and you can analyze the various scenarios, you want to be looking at it and you want to say, either I'm going to avoid that business or that investment approach, or I'm going to figure out how to reduce the headache factor. And as an aside note, that's one of the things that we've done in our business. See, I think real estate investing is a great investment strategy, but I don't want to actively manage properties on a daily and recurring basis. I don't want to deal with tenants. I don't want to lease properties up. That's not my best use of mental capital, time, or energy. And so what we've built in our business, in real estate from anywhere, is a turnkey real estate investment operation where people can look at real estate investing and perceive this headache factor of tenants, toilets, and trash, and then realize how we step in because I built a system and a business around it because I understand it very well, how you can plug into that system and the headache factor goes away. See, we've built the system so you don't have to build the system and you don't have to have the headache factor. We've already got those pieces put in place. That's the headache factor. Number 7 is cash flow. Now, we talked about this earlier because simple systems, scale, and margin, those first 4 are really leading us to these final 2 components of the 8 investment decisions. So we had simple system, scale, margin, risk, headache factor, and what's next? Cash flow. Cash flow is key. I want to be making business and investment decisions that are producing cash flow on a regular, recurring, residual, monthly basis. Month in, month out, I want to get paid for efforts that I do one time. If I do it once, I want to get paid many times into the future. That's cash flow. And if I do it once, I don't want to have to work significantly. I want my effort to go down tremendously as my cash flow goes up. Those are the kind of lines and things that I look for in business and investment decisions and choices and options. And for me, real estate investing has been that choice, that direction, that thing that allows me, when I plug my real estate into a system that allows me to become a passive investor and somebody else takes on the active component, and I understood how to buy right. I understood what I was buying, why I was buying, where I was buying. When I did all of those things, my cash flow potential went up. Little to no increase in effort, significant increase in output. That's the definition of scale. And when you do it around an asset like real estate that produces cash flow, that cash flow is the thing that can pay you and scale and increase over time. Now, finally is lifestyle. Are the business and investment decisions you're making, are they leading to you being able to live and enjoy the lifestyle that you actually want to live and enjoy? See, that at the end of all of this, real freedom is about you. If we circle it back to the beginning of our conversation in this first episode of the Real Freedom Show, you circle that back and you say to yourself, what is the lifestyle that I want to live? And then you say, where am I starting? What is my starting point today? Is my starting point that I have no money, I have a little bit of knowledge, but I've got a lot of energy? Is my starting point, I've got quite a bit of money, I've got some knowledge, but I would like to increase it so that I can start to scale the performance of my capital, right? You have to decide and evaluate, where are you today? What are you starting from? And then you've got to start to plug into the knowledge bank, and you got to start putting these things in place that lead you to the outcomes, the results, and the lifestyle that you ultimately want to accomplish and achieve. And so when I look at these 8 things, these are the factors that I use to make investment and business decisions on a regular basis. A deal doesn't come across my desk that I don't look this through and ask myself, is it simple? Can I build a system? Is it scalable? Is it high margin? Is it low risk? What's the headache factor? Is there cash flow potential? And does it ultimately lead me to the lifestyle that I want to live, that I want my business and my investments to produce for me? See, many people end up working for their business and working for their investments. And I personally think that that's the exact wrong way to approach it. I think your business and your investments should go to work and produce for you. And so this is all about lifestyle design. You have to ask yourself, what is the lifestyle? What is the design? How do I put these things in place that are going to actually produce for me? Now, I'm going to give you a basic financial freedom plan. And it's 5 simple steps. As we wrap this up, there's 5 simple steps that I want you to just think about and hear about, because here's what we're going to be doing in the Real Freedom Show. If you are somebody that says, you know what, I want to make real estate investing, I want to make business, I want to make my life better, I want to gain more knowledge, I want to learn how to build my passive income through real estate investing. If you've said any of that, this is the show for you. And so there's 5 steps, 5 components to financial freedom. Number 1 is to increase your income. Now, we'll talk about a lot of different ways to increase your income, but number 1 is to increase your income. Number 2 is to decrease your expenses. These are the steps to financial freedom. And again, we'll break this down. We'll talk about it. That's what this show is all about. How do you increase your income first? How do you decrease your expenses second? How do you control your investments? We're going to talk a lot about control. Controlling your investments, controlling the things that are going on in your business and with your money and in your life. Control is one of the greatest things that produces freedom. Number 3 is, so control your investments. Number 4, hedge downside. Hedge your downside. Protect your risk. You do that by gaining knowledge. You do that with insurance. You do that by having a tangible hard asset. You do that by understanding how to make the right investment decisions up front that lead towards ultimate success. Number 5 then is to optimize everything. So if you increase your income, decrease your expenses, control your investments, hedge your downside, and optimize everything in that 5th stage, what are you doing? You're taking everything that you've built, and in that 5th stage, you're going back and saying, what can I improve? What lever can I turn? What can I tweak? What strategy can I apply? What fundamental thing can I do that's going to impact my entire financial freedom plan? When you figure that out, when you learn how to pull these levers and push these buttons and switch these levers, you create real freedom. And that's what this show is all about. That's what I'm excited about talking with you about. And so on upcoming episodes, I'm going to put out a phone number that you're going to be able to reach me directly. You can shoot in a text, you can call it, and you can leave a voicemail. You can ask questions. I want this to be an engagement process where you can Q&A with me, and on subsequent shows, I'll come on and we'll do an Ask Rob segment of the Real Freedom Show where I'll take audience questions about these topics and break them apart and talk to you about them and give you answers. And we'll lay out specific action item steps. The Real Freedom Show is not going to be a show full of theory. It's going to be a show full of real-world actionable steps that you can apply and things that you can do to change your financial future. So I hope this overview got you excited. I hope these are the things that you're thinking about. I hope this draws you in and gets you excited to connect with me on the Real Freedom Show going forward. My name is Rob Swanson. This is the Real Freedom Show. This has been episode 0. Who's this for? What's this thing all about? Where are we headed? And why should you plug in? That's what we've tried to answer. In episode number 1, we're going to break this deeper, and then we're going to start to go into strategies, tactics, techniques, things that you can apply in your business, in your life, with your money from day number 1. So this is Rob Swanson for The Real Freedom Show, and I will see you in the next episode. Bye-bye.